You're on the highway, 4 lanes, everything's moving fine. Then brake lights. You come to a stop. You crawl along for a couple of minutes and then the road just opens up and you're back at full speed. And as you go past the spot where you were sitting, you look for the wreck. There isn't one. No crash, no roadworks, nothing at all. So what were you stuck in? That's what I want to build here from scratch on a straight 4-lane road. Here's the road. 4 lanes and every car on it follows 2 rules. Keep a safe gap from whoever's in front of you and move over if there's a clear advantage and it's safe to do it. That's the whole model. Nobody's drunk, nobody's texting, there are no junctions and no lights, and the road wraps around on itself, so no one ever joins or leaves. Anything that happens here happens because of those 2 rules. With this few cars, it works about how you'd expect. Everyone's doing around 60. Somebody pulls out to pass a truck and tucks back in. The part worth watching is the brake lights because hardly anyone is using them. When a driver does lift off, the car behind adjusts a little, the one after that barely at all, and 3 cars back it's gone. The road just swallows it. This can run all day. Now I'll add more cars. Nothing else changes. Same road, same 4 lanes, same 2 rules, still no obstacle anywhere on it. The only difference is that everybody is closer together than they were. And one driver taps the brakes. That's it. Maybe they look down for a second. The car behind reacts late, so it has to brake slightly harder to keep its gap. The one behind that brakes harder still. None of them can see past the car directly in front, so each one overshoots a bit, and the overshoot grows as it works its way back down the line. And a few cars back, someone actually stops. There's your jam. There is nothing in front of that lead car. It's empty road. Every single driver behaved sensibly, and there's a queue anyway. Now watch the jam instead of the cars because they're doing 2 different things. The cars are all going forwards. The jam is going backwards. It slides upstream at somewhere around 15 to 20 kilometers an hour, and that figure turns out to be oddly consistent. You get roughly the same number off real highway sensors. Cars feed into the front of it and stop. Cars leak out of the back and speed away, and the queue itself keeps drifting backwards over the tarmac. It's made of the gaps, not the cars. The cars are just what it's traveling through. Some Japanese researchers put 22 drivers on a 230-meter circular track back in 2008 and asked them to hold a steady 30. The jam turned up within a couple of minutes. So why isn't every drive like this? It comes down to density. Below a certain number of cars per kilometer, a disturbance dies out. Above it, the same disturbance grows instead, and it's a fairly sharp line. You're on one side of it or you're on the other. This is roughly what sitting near that line looks like. I've added a handful of cars to a road that was flowing perfectly well and given it the same brake tap as before. Instead of fading out, it feeds on itself, which is why jams feel so arbitrary. The road didn't get worse. It quietly crossed a threshold, and you happened to be on it when somebody glanced at their phone. Four lanes gives us something a single lane can't. Look at the speeds by lane over there. They're almost never equal. One of them is always doing better, and if you're stuck in traffic, you will notice and you will want to be in it. Here's what's actually going on. A lane looks quick because it's briefly emptied out, and it emptied out because the cars that were in it have already left. By the time you've changed into it, you and everyone else who spotted the same gap have filled it back in. There's a sampling problem sitting on top of that, too. You spend more time being overtaken than overtaking, even in a lane that's exactly average. When your lane is moving, you cover ground quickly and pass hardly anyone. When it's stopped, you sit there watching the next lane stream past. The losing is simply more memorable. The other lane isn't faster. You're checking it at the worst possible moments. Sometimes there is a real reason, obviously, so here I've shut one lane. Cones, work zone, the thing you'd normally blame. The closed lane backs up, which is no surprise. But have a look at the lane beside it, because that's nearly as slow now and there's nothing blocking it. Every car that merges across makes somebody in that lane brake. So the congestion doesn't stay put. It works its way sideways, one lane at a time, while the outside lanes are still moving fine. That's how one closed lane can take down a 4-lane highway well before the road is anywhere near full. It's also the reason traffic departments keep asking people to merge late and take turns, rather than all diving over the moment they see the sign. Slow vehicles do something similar. A truck can't match the speed of the cars around it, so a queue builds up behind it and people pull out to get past. Each of those overtakes drops a small disturbance into the next lane over. A road full of identical vehicles runs smoother than a mixed one, even when everybody in the mix is driving perfectly reasonably. Right following distance. Everybody has an opinion about this one. These drivers are tailgating. Short gaps, quick reactions, standard rush hour behavior. And I'll say it up front, they are moving faster on average than the run we did earlier. But look at how they're doing it. It's horrible. The spread between the quickest and slowest car on the road is enormous, and cars are going from full speed to a dead stop and back again. Every one of those stops is a rear-end collision waiting for one person to look up half a second too late. Tailgating does buy you speed. It pays for it out of stability. Same road, same number of cars, same brake tap. The only thing I've changed is that everyone leaves a bigger gap. The jam doesn't form at all. Nobody on this road ever stops. It's also slower on average, and I'm not going to pretend it isn't. That's a genuine trade, not a free win, but nothing here ever comes to a halt. Which leaves the obvious question of whether you can have both. This is the crowded road from earlier, the one that fell apart. The difference is that about 1 car in 5 is automated now. They're not quicker, they don't know anything about the road ahead, and they aren't routing cleverly. They do exactly one thing. They hold a steady speed instead of overcorrecting. And the waves stop. The gap between the fastest and slowest car is under 1 kilometer an hour, on a road that was stopping dead a minute ago, and the average speed is basically where it was before. 1 car in 5, refusing to panic, is enough to settle the other 4. And this isn't only a simulation result. A team in Arizona ran it in 2017 with a single self-driving car in a ring of 21 human drivers, and it smoothed out the entire ring. Fuel use dropped by something like 40%. So next time you're stopped for no reason, looking around for a crash that isn't there, there's nothing to find. The blockage isn't in front of you. It's a wave that's been rolling backwards through the traffic for the last few minutes, and the driver who started it tapped their brakes a couple of kilometers up the road and has long since gone home. You can't clear it. You can avoid feeding it, which mostly means leaving a bigger gap than feels necessary and not chasing the lane next to you.